He went on to sell that agency and founded his own company, Convince and Convert. His blog, by the same name, is the #1 ranked blog for content marketing in the world and the #3 ranked blog for social media. Baer is one of the people that I really point to not only as somebody who's a driving force in our industry, making us better, keeping us honest. Please put your hands together for my good friend and a friend of all of us, Baer of Convince and Convert.
Which is that the difference between helping and selling is just 2 letters. But those 2 letters make all the difference in modern business. Because if you sell something, you can create a customer today. But if you help someone, you can create a customer for life. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening. The content that will be effective is content that is truly and inherently useful. And I call that information a utility. Y-O-U-tility. And the definition of utility is simple. It's just this. It's marketing that is so useful, people would pay for it. Now, you're not going to actually make them pay for it. That would be bold. But it's so useful that if you ask them to, they actually would. Let me give you an example. Hilton Hotels has a program on Twitter called @HiltonSuggests. They started this a couple years ago as a trial program. They took 25 hotels across the United States, took a volunteer from each hotel. This wasn't a full-time job. It was in addition to their regular duties, and said, here's what we want you to do. We want you to listen on Twitter. Pay attention to what's being said on Twitter. And if you can find a way to help, just help. So that's what they did. Here's an example. @LTHouston says on Twitter, good places to eat near the Magnolia Hotel, downtown Dallas on Saturday. Hilton Suggests jumps into this conversation. Note that this wasn't addressed to Hilton. They just saw it. They were strategically eavesdropping, if you will. They saw this, they leapt into the conversation and said, hey, @LTHouston, Wild Salsa on Main or Campese's on Elm are awesome, both within walking distance of your hotel in Dallas. Enjoy. But here's the thing. The Magnolia Hotel is not a Hilton property. So now you have Hilton Hotels using staff time and staff resources to assist somebody that they know for a fact is not a customer. But eventually, this guy's going to be in a different city and need a hotel recommendation. And at that point, who's he going to think of first? Hilton. Because they helped him when he needed it. It's a utility. Research from Edison Research and their project, The Social Habit, finds that of American social media users, more than 30% say that social media has driven a specific purchase. Of course it has, and this audience is probably 75% or more. I buy stuff that people recommend to me on social media all the time. And if you don't today, you will, and your customers will as well. What you find is that my Facebook feed goes friend, company, spouse, company. And guess what? Yours looks exactly the same, and so does your Twitter feed, and so does your email inbox, and so does your Instagram and your Pinterest and everything else. It is a combination, a collision of personal and professional relationships. And what that means for every single one of your companies is that you're not just competing for attention against other companies selling the same crap, you're competing for attention against everybody and everything. Are you more interesting to me than my wife? Because that is the bar you have to clear. You are competing line by line and pixel for attention against every cat video and every ridiculous goat meme out there in the world. And so you got 2 options. You can either try to fight that ridiculous fire with your own brand of ridiculousness, or you can be truly and inherently useful. You can embrace the concept of utility. Because if you do that, if you are useful, your customers and prospective customers will keep you close, the same way that we keep our actual friends and family members close. What does that mean? Well, it means that they subscribe to your email newsletter, and they participate in your nurturing campaign. And they like you on Facebook, and they follow you on Twitter, and they follow you on Pinterest, and they follow you on Instagram, and they keep your mobile app on the home screen of their phone, and they bookmark your website. All the things that indicate trust and loyalty and attention will happen for you if you are truly and inherently useful. Honesty and authenticity is now the springboard to your success. The future of marketing is not company-wide marketing plan. The future of marketing is marketing plan for each piece of content. How are you going to propagate your utility is almost more important than what your utility is. So here's the thing. Content is fire. Social media is gasoline. You will always be better off if you use social media to promote your utility first and your company second. But you know what? The reality is most of us still aren't doing that right. Most of us still look at social media, either intentionally or unintentionally, as the world's shortest press release. It's still way too much about us and not nearly enough about solving problems and helping customers. But what's really interesting about this is that this is not a Trojan horse, and utility can't be. Your customers are too smart for that now. You can't be like, oh, you want some Clorox? Let me slip a coupon in there. It has to live on its own merits. It has to be so useful that people would pay for it. And that's the thing about utility. Sometimes it's not right answer or wrong answer, it's just a righter answer. And again, that requires you understanding more about your customers and treating them as people, not just parts of a spreadsheet.
The power of now means that today, every customer is a reporter. Every customer is a reporter. And that creates a lot of challenges for us as business people. We have to, as companies, get faster, we have to get smarter, and we have to get even more social to meet the challenges and the new expectations that our customers have for us. Speed wins in modern business. And it's interesting because we've had to get faster a lot of other times in the past. We forget about it because it's an evolution over a long period of time. But we have always had to get faster. Right? There was a period, now granted it was a while ago, but there was a period of time that we did not, as business people, have to worry about answering the phone because there was no phone. And then, all of a sudden, we had to say, somebody needs to be in charge if this box on the wall makes noise. We had to transform our businesses because of the invention of the telephone. And then the fax machine comes out, right? A conspiracy by the curly paper industry to sell their wares. And then you could send a letter through the air. It was the devil's work. And we had to transform our businesses because of the invention of the fax machine. And then the web comes out, which has changed everything. Now, all of a sudden, our customers can reach us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We had to fundamentally transform our businesses because of the invention of the web. And now comes social media, which is the most transformative of all of those, because it's the only one that changes the very relationship dynamic between companies and their customers. From its historical imperative, which has always been for thousands of years, company is master, customer is servant. Social media changes the relationship between companies and their customers, from master and servant to peer-to-peer.
Social media dictates that we can't market at people anymore. We have to market with people. So it's the most transformative of all of those. But yet, we're not changing our businesses as the result of the invention of social media. We say we are, we think we are, but we're not. We cannot call a committee meeting every time somebody sends a tweet about us and say, what should we do about this? Because by the time you send out the meeting request, it's over. You've missed it. We have to get faster, and the way you do that is not with technology, it's with cultural alignment in your company. How come car companies, as an example, but it applies to everybody, how come car companies don't hire people in every position that are wildly passionate about cars? And it is a fantastic question, because if we are going to succeed with the power of now, if we're going to move as fast as our customers want us to move, we have to start hiring for passion and training for skills instead of the other way around, which is how we've handled business for 1,000 years. Social media and marketing and business are about people. Never forget that. Because at the end of the day, the power of now is actually the power of one.
Every time I walk on stage, I have the exact same objective: to give you and your event attendees the most interesting, useful, and fantastic marketing presentation you have ever seen. I do this in 3 ways. First, I customize every presentation. I research who is going to be in the audience, and I use examples from people who are going to be in the room. Maybe I'll even use you and your organization as an example. Second, it's a presentation, not a lecture. It's dynamic, highly visual, and funny. I guarantee your attendees will leave the room laughing. And third, the event doesn't end when I walk off the stage. Whether it's mingling with attendees, answering questions, signing books, or being a real part of your event, my goal is to be your guy the entire time. It's master and servant. Master and servant. And everything we've done in marketing and communication since that point has been some version of that script. We've got great stuff, buy it. We've got great stuff, buy it. We've got great stuff, will you please buy it? It's always some combination of that. And now, customers have skin in the game. Customers are part of the equation. It's not master and servant anymore. It's peer-to-peer. And we have to stop marketing at people and start to market with people. And that ability to have skin in the game, that ability to be a peer with businesses is fantastic as consumers. But as business owners, as marketers, as entrepreneurs, it's a little bit scary. I'll grant you that. The first key to making this work is understanding that social media is actually not about technology at all. It's about corporate culture and personality. And if we're going to operate at the same speed that our customers are operating at, if we're going to win business in a world where 10-year-old kids are Skyping from an iPhone, we have to be able to move seamlessly, frictionlessly in every company regardless of size. And the only way that happens, it's not about buying more technology. It's about being able to do stuff without asking permission. It's about, when we talk about getting smarter via social media, that usually is rooted somehow in data and analysis and listening. And the challenge that you find in social media, and this may be true of some of you here, is this notion that social media is somehow inherently dangerous, that it is shark-infested. I hear this quite a bit. We'd like to get active in social media, Jay, but what if somebody says something bad about us? Anybody heard that? Maybe you've uttered those words yourself. If your company sucks, Twitter's not your problem. Okay? You have a bigger problem.
The goal is not to be good at social media. The goal is to be good at business because of social media. In order to do that, you have to measure behavior, not aggregation.
Now you get me. And I am just a man. I do not sing. I can't rock that hairstyle. And you could put on 3D glasses and festoon me with LEDs, and I would look exactly like this. But what I am is Jay Baer. I'm a social media and content strategist and your host, cruise director, and new best friend for this 3-day Smarter Commerce Global Summit right here in Nashville. Thank you all for being here. You know, the irony of all this is that we're using technology and big data so that we can treat customers not like a number. It's kind of interesting. I tell you, Craig, though, a year's worth of contact lenses, you are an optimist, my friend. That is a forward-looking purchase. Year. Many of you have heard of IBM's Watson. And Watson is not just a supercomputer. It is the most interesting supercomputer in the world. Dwight Howard uses Watson to decide who he's going to play in the NBA for. Lindsay Lohan uses Watson for relationship advice. And Chuck Norris uses Watson as a calculator, which seems like overkill. But now the amazing power of Watson is available to all companies. And Manoj Saxena from IBM's Watson Group is going to show us how it's done. But first, take a look at this. Thanks, Sir Terry. That is an inspirational tale. I love what you said at the beginning about if you have an affinity for your customer and they have an affinity for you, it gives you permission to take your business in a different direction. We've had a fantastic morning. The break is going to last till 10:45. Next sessions will begin right at 10:45. Sir Terry and I will be signing our books outside the presidential ballroom as soon as we're done here. And it actually makes a lot of sense because he is a knight, been knighted by the Queen, and my high school mascot was the Fighting Knight, so it's pretty much the same thing. I want to make your event a smashing success. I want people to know about it, and I want people to be excited. It benefits you, and it benefits me. I can promote your event on Twitter, where I have 100,000 followers. I can promote it on Facebook, where I have 100,000 followers. Maybe I can talk about your event in my blog, ranked the #1 content marketing blog in the world by Content Marketing Institute. Maybe I can talk about it on our award-winning podcast. There's a lot of things that we can do together. In fact, in many cases, I'll shoot a promotional video for you that you can use on your website to get attendees excited before the event even begins. There's a lot we can do together. Just ask. I will be the easiest to work with speaker you've ever seen. That I can promise you.